Hello ladies and gentlemen, Civil Green here, and today we're going to do a damage dealer tier list. So yeah, those are kind of all the characters in Just 2 Mobile. Sadly, we don't have that many options that have kind of an inclination towards being a damage dealer and dealing lots of damage. Any other characters that are not in this list, and feel free to let me know in the comments if you think I missed someone, don't really have anything standing out for them to be built as a damage dealer. Because of how the game works, you can build anything as a damage dealer, but only those will pull above average damage or far higher in some scenarios. So while ranking this, I'll keep in mind a few criteria. So first of all, we'll keep in mind the damage that they deal, because that's obviously very important because they are damage dealers. Second of all, keep in mind the versatility of the damage dealer, because for example, Arbek Harley Quinn can deal the biggest damage in the game right now paired up with Raven. But the problem is it can't perform well if the fight is stun resistant, because you can't stun it, you need an Arkham Knight Batman, and if you have an Arkham Knight Batman, there's no room for Raven. So while it pulls the best damage, it's not usable in a lot of fights, and there's also the fights that are dot immune that are more and more frequent nowadays. And third of all, we'll keep in mind what characters they require to function properly at their peak potential, because they might not have the opportunity to do so. For example, we got over here my boy Darkseid and Collector Word Superman. They are going to obviously perform amazing with Raven and Brainiac. They are going to pull some crazy amounts of damage, but there's two problems. First of all, Brainiac usually goes with Black Manta, and Black Manta is gonna pull far more damage than the both of them, maybe even combined to some extent, and Raven goes with other teams that are going to yield far more damage. So while you could bump up Darkseid to deal a huge amount of damage, at the same time it's not really worth doing so, because the resources used to do that are far better spent in other places. But yeah, all that being said, let's get this underway. I'm not gonna take them in order, more like I'm going to grab some characters and stick them in some specific place as leads to that tier and that category, so that we can orient ourselves. So first of all, we got the best of the best. We're going to put over here in the S tier Harley. For A tier, the best thing I'm thinking for A tier is gonna be Silver Banshee. So yeah, now let's compare the two of them now that we got some sort of a reference over here. So Arbek Harley Quinn is going to deal kind of the highest amount of damage possible in the game right now when paired up with Raven. The only problem, as I stated previously, is the fact that she's not gonna be usable with Raven in fights that are stun resistant. But even then, you can subtract Raven and still have a decent team with Arkham Knight Batman and DPI. And that team with Arkham Knight Batman and DPI can deal some pretty substantial damage in league raids as well. So overall, a pretty versatile team. Not versatile at peak performance, but versatile at a good enough performance that's gonna pull a lot of damage. Then we got Silver Banshee. Silver Banshee is a character that can deal also a pretty high amount of damage, but requires pretty specific situations and tends to struggle a bit when the fight is not ideal and when the enemy character is not combo interruptible. I mean, you can do that, but it struggles a bit because you have a far better time combo interrupting a bit with Reverse Flash. And overall, she doesn't pull that much damage. That's just the reality of it. It just falls short compared to other damage dealers that will be on this list. Still a solid damage dealer and a character that you will always see in the top 6 teams, no matter if you're talking about league rates or any of the stories that we got going. Then we're gonna have ourselves Black Adam. Black Adam is gonna sit for me all the way over here, because while he's kind of the next best thing you have to a top tier damage dealer, he's not a top tier damage dealer. He might get close to the top 10, might even be in the top 10 in some people's opinions, depending on what you include and what criteria you have. And it's one of the better things we get from arena seasons, but he's not gonna perform that well for you. Also, the placements over here as I go through the tier list and I give it more of a thought might change, so we'll see. Black Manta. Okay, we'll do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna drop Silver Banshee below, because I feel that there is a big enough difference between Black Manta and Silver Banshee that is worth separating them. Like, let's say you have yourself a maxed out Black Manta and the maxed out Silver Banshee, and you have the same artifacts, let's say soul rate artifacts, to work with when it comes to the both of them. Black Manta is gonna do far better. But at the same time, you'll never see Black Manta quite reaching the huge amounts of damage that Harley Quinn does. And the problem with Black Manta is, even though I'm going to rate the characters at peak performance, out of this list, Black Manta will be the hardest character to max out and get to 6 stars, and a lot of people are going to be running around with 4-star Black Mantas. And that's a huge difference, because Black Manta passive is going to give him more damage on his basic attacks. That's going to be his main thing, that's going to be the reason why he deals damage, and that is going to level up all the way up to 6 stars, and you're going to only get peak performance out of him at 6 stars. So I feel like A tier for Black Manta. If you feel like putting him in the S tier and not regarding that thing that I said, you can just do that. I don't mind. Now we got ourselves Batman Ninja Robin. He's gonna sit in C tier. Again, you're not gonna use this dude as a damage dealer, but I thought he was worth putting because of the potential of dealing damage. You have the far better option, obviously, with Batman Ninja Catwoman. That's out there and usable. But yeah, he's just gonna sit over there for now. We might as well even drop them here, because I'm thinking ahead of time, we might have some different characters in there. That I don't feel like Robin as a damage dealer and Black Adam are going to be able to stand up against. So keep in mind, Robin is the reason the Batman Ninja team deals damage, and this is a tier list about support characters. It's tier list about damage dealer characters, not support characters. If this was about support characters, this guy is more important than having Batman Ninja Catwoman to some extent. Okay, we got ourselves Batman Ninja Catwoman. So, it's either A tier or S tier. Like, right now we got a weird state of the beta club. They say they might fix it, they haven't fixed it in a while. But even in this bug state of the beta club, Batman Ninja Catwoman tends to pull a quite huge amount of damage. And Harley Quinn deals far more damage than her, but at the same time, Harley Quinn has to use Raven. Raven is not a stable character necessarily. Raven is a character that you can buff a number of characters with. And while Harley Quinn is dependent on Raven, you can buff any character you want with Raven and still have Batman Ninja Catwoman deal huge amounts of damage. Another thing is that she is very reliant on you having Beta Club, because that boosts her damage tremendously. So if you don't, she's gonna pretty much stay in the A tier. I think that's where we'll leave her, because there's not many people that have Beta Club. Again, if you wanna go ahead and do this, feel free. If the Beta Club gets fixed, then it's gonna be easily S tier, but we're gonna leave her at A tier for now. Batman Lord Joker. C tier, again, this is not something that you ideally want to build, but it's something that you can build if you don't have gears for Batman Ninja Catwoman, and it's gonna perform amazingly well, because as I said, most of the Batman Ninja damage comes from Batman Ninja Robin, and that's pretty much the reason why you deal so much lethal attack damage, and Batman Ninja Lord Joker, out of all the other Batman Ninja characters other than Batman Ninja Catwoman, can take the best advantage of this passive. Electro vs Superman. Again, he can deal a pretty decent amount of damage. He can get pretty high up there. Like, don't get me wrong. For example, Lord Joker and Superman can deal far more damage than Black Adam can. But the problem is, you'll usually have Catwoman instead of this dude. And this dude, to deal a high amount of damage, is going to require you to use Brainiac. And as we stated previously, Brainiac usually goes with Black Manta, because that's where he's far better. He might yet again be the next best thing to Black Manta, as is Batman or Joker, but that's why he's sitting here. Darkseid is also going to sit in this tier, because of the fact that, yet again, you can buff him up to a pretty high amount of damage, but Black Manta kind of needs the same team that he uses. You'd rather have Black Manta. So yet again, same deal as Superman, an okay-ish replacement for Black Manta, but as soon as you get Black Manta, you'll never use this dude as damage dealer again. Okay, so we got Entangling Poison Ivy in this list, and a lot of people tend to overlook how much damage she actually deals, and it's a little bit weird that we got her here, because this is about damage dealers, not support characters, but she's there. But a lot of times when she's paired up with Last Life Joker and they're tagging out in between the two of them, she deals a lot of the damage, because she's in the fight for quite a long time, because that's how the gameplay demands. And at the same time, if you have Raven with Last Life Joker, if your Last Life Joker dies, or if you're fighting both Cyborg because she gets that additional damage against the tech class, she's gonna deal a decent and a fair amount of damage. So yet again, she's gonna be here. She's not gonna be in any top tiers, but she's gonna be in the replacement tier, and we'll keep in mind that she kind of contributes to the Last Life Joker damage. It's a character that you should definitely build and you will eventually build, but you're not building necessarily for the purpose of her being the main damage dealer, but she's gonna do a fair job. Now we get Just League Superman is gonna be a C tier. Like, Just League Superman is going to be a solid damage dealer, a good damage dealer, but he's not gonna always make it into the top 6 teams. He's gonna be like the bottom line. We got 2 teams. Let's put the Multiverse team as well, because we're going to talk about 2 of these guys in comparison. And the reason why none of them is not in the B tier with Silver Banshee is because both of them exist. Okay, let me further elaborate on that. Both of them are going to be the top 6th and 7th best team. You're going to usually use only 6 pips in league rates, because most people do it in 1 day or 2 days tops. And you have only 6 fights every 24 hours in soul rates. So you're obviously going to use your top 6 teams. The problem is those 2 tend to fluctuate depending on where you are at right now for that 6th place. For example, in league rates, you're always going to use the Multiverse team. It does far better than Just League team Superman 1. And at the same time, in soul rates, Dawn of Apocalypse, and in Dawn of Apocalypse, the Just League team is gonna do far better. And in Advent of Chaos and Rise of Krypton, if you have high-level soul rate artifacts, you're going to see better results out of the Just League team. But you have low-level ones, your Multiverse team is gonna do better. And also, Multiverse team does surprisingly good against Collector Word Superman boss. So yeah, that's why they're here, because they're never a staple. They're always fluctuating in between each other. Now we got Just League Flash. The problem with this thing is that he's usually used as a support character. He's a great support character for Last F Joker, a great support character for Black Manta, and usually you're going to end up replacing him as damage dealer with Collector vs Superman. But until you get to that point, he will serve you as a very, very solid damage dealer. But after you get to that point, he's not gonna be that much of a damage dealer. Also, he kind of tends to be in the same mode as Superman, where he kind of sucks if you don't have high-level soul rate artifacts, and he's kind of unusable in league rates. And on top of that, not Collector vs Superman, Just League Superman is gonna have the benefit of being a little bit tanky. This dude is not tanky at all. He's gonna die very, very quick if you don't have high soul rates level artifacts. So he's gonna be over here in the replacement here. Like, everything you see here is gonna be, for the most part, the next best thing you can have to an actual damage dealer. King of Atlantis Aquaman. Okay. It's either A tier or S tier. Okay, I'm gonna give him S tier, because recently with Draven, he does very well with Draven. He's kind of a reliable pip with Draven. He can one-shot everything in league grades. He can one-shot phase 3 to phase 4 with Draven. He can do very well in soul rates. Like, the problem is, in soul rates, you're going to get a better performance out of Black Manta plus Raven, or Harbinger Harley Quinn plus Raven, or Last of Joker plus Raven than you get with King. So he's not gonna be used with Raven, but he's a versatile character. You can use him against pretty much any fights, so I guess he deserves this tier, and it's gonna be accessible to everybody. You guys gonna get mad in the comments again if I don't give him S tier, and to be honest, he kind of deserves after the Raven thing. Boy, another S tier. Last Laugh the Joker. Okay, so if Raven didn't get added into the game, this dude would be like here, or maybe here, because he would only be used in league rates and very rarely in soul rates. But with the addition of Raven, that kind of allowed us to use Last Life Joker pretty much everywhere. The thing is, Harbinger Harley Quinn is going to deal more damage than Last Life Joker with Raven, but there's 2 things. Last Life Joker can be used if the enemy is stun resistant, because he doesn't rely on a stun to deal some damage, so where Harbinger Harley Quinn can be used, you can replace it with Last Life Joker. And at the same time, even though Harbinger Harley Quinn deals far more damage in those fights, is not really that necessary in for the most part, because right now what I'm seeing is that people always one-shot and have a lot of time left with Harbinger Harley Quinn, so while Joker does slightly less damage, it's gonna be smoother gameplay, and it's gonna be close enough. So I feel like Last of Joker deserves S tier. Also, he's amazing in league race nowadays after Raven. You can one-shot phase 3 to phase 4 with him plus Raven in tier 8, so that's amazing. Red or Batman and Silver Batman are going to both go in this tier. Again, the next best thing you can get to an actual damage dealer, but not an actual damage dealer. And then we're going to have ourselves Raven over here. She's very solid as damage dealer herself, even though she's not really used as damage dealer because she's also amazingly strong as support character, but she can pretty much one-shot everything in league raids and can do very well in soul raids as well. Now that I take a look at this, there could an argument be made to do this and delete this tier, or do this and delete this tier, but I really feel like I need to put an emphasis on the fact that Server Banshee, no matter where you go, she's not gonna deal the highest damage, but it's also always going to be there in the top teams that you can use. Well, with all that being said, this is my list. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. All that being said, I'll hopefully see you all in the next one. Goodbye.